Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and I've got 10 of the latest and greatest flagship phones with me here, and I want to find out which one has the best battery. So I'm going to try and make this as realistic as possible, but within the confines of my studio. So everything is set to 150 nits. We have Wi-Fi on, also auto brightness turned off, which you actually have to find in the accessibility settings on the iPhone. And all the phones are set to their default settings. So some of them have higher quality resolutions, but by default are at 1080p, left them there. So we have 5 different chips between the 10 phones, including the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, also the 8 Plus Gen 1, also the Apple A15, A16, and the Google Tensor Core 2 chip in the Pixel. And you can see from these results, they're all fairly similar, although the iPhone takes the win and the Pixel is in last place. Now obviously there's loads more phones I'd love to have included, but I actually don't have, like the Sony Xperia Mark IV for one example, but I think 10 is still a pretty good amount for one battery test. And it is really important to say that your mileage may vary, it all depends on how you use your phone. Screen on time, for example, isn't like the most useful metric because it all depends what you're watching or playing. But at the 1 hour mark, the One Plus somehow is still on 100%. Surprisingly, the ROG phone, which actually has the biggest battery, is down to 95. That's got a 6,000 mAh battery, although of course we did run that benchmark and then it jumps into the X mode. I've left it on dynamic so it should adjust, but being more powerful, it's going to use up more battery when you are gaming or running intensive tasks. Now obviously all these phones don't come out at the same time and some of them are due a refresh soon. For example, we've got the Vivo X80 Pro and we should see the X90 series come out around December time, and then late January we'll probably have refreshed Samsung Galaxy S23s and the new Oppo Find X6 Pro. So you're never going to get a time when they're all sort of in the same launch window. But right now, as I'm filming this in November, these are the latest phones. Actually, that's not quite true. There is a slightly newer ROG Phone 6D Ultimate, which I don't have, but very similar specs. Also, while the Xiaomi 12T Pro is technically their newest release, the 12S Ultra is actually their flagship, but sadly I don't have one with me to test. 2 hours in and the One Plus is still winning at 90% left. Everything else is in the 80s. I think what I'm really keen to see is how well the Pixel performs, because obviously with the 6 Pro before and well, most Pixels in the past, they never really kept up. So I'm curious if this is going to come last. So actually place your bets right now. Maybe let me know in the comments below which you think is going to win. Is it going to be the one with the biggest battery, or is it going to be a surprise? What do you think? Now speaking of the Galaxy, I actually do have the Snapdragon version here. Of course there is an Exynos one as well, although this year the battery is pretty similar between them, but hopefully going forward with the S23 series they'll all be Qualcomm Snapdragon chips, so this can just be a lot easier. I'm also curious to see how much of a difference the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 has to battery life over the regular Snapdragon 8. I think it's going to be quite significant. Okay, so 4 hours in and it's pretty close. We've got 3 phones on 66%. The Magic 4 Pro from Honor is currently in last place with 64%. And in the lead, it seems to be between the OnePlus 10T and also the Xiaomi 12T Pro. In terms of battery size, the iPhones have the smallest batteries, but consistently we know how well optimized they are, so I'm not expecting them to come last. In terms of the Android phones, the Honor has the smallest battery at 4,600 milliamps versus the ROG phone at 6,000, so that is quite a big difference. So it would be fair enough if the Honor loses out to the ROG. So we're 7 hours in now and it's way past my bedtime, plus I want to do a bit of a standby battery life test as well. So let's leave these overnight and see how much they drop. Interesting, so they've all lost between 2 and 7% overnight, and actually the iPhones have come out worse there, both dropping 7%. By the way, as you'll appreciate by the end of this video, these take a long time to make and are also extremely boring. If you do enjoy this video and find it useful, a like and subscribe would be very much appreciated. Now I know what you're thinking, Tom, this isn't fair. Delete the video off YouTube right now because the iPhone 14 Plus only has 60 Hz and everything else is higher. And in fact, the ROG phone goes up to 165 Hz. And that's fair, but there is an advantage actually to the LTPO, the dynamic refresh rates on some of the higher end phones compared to the iPhone, because they can even go lower than 60. They can go down to 1 Hz in most cases actually. So I don't want to just restrict them all to 60, I think that would be unfair. Also, that's not how you use these phones, and hopefully this will be the last time we have to include an iPhone that only has a 60 Hz refresh rate. But hey, whichever phone you're using, you want to keep it safe, right? Which is why I've teamed up with the lovely guys over at Rhino Shield, and he sent me a couple of cases. So I've got the full iPhone 14 family here. Let's get these guys protected. I also love the fact that all the packaging is recyclable, and they also don't use any harmful chemicals in the making of their cases. So this particular case supports MagSafe, and also using Rhino Shield's unique shock spread material and also their high quality product design gives us extreme impact protection. Rhino Shield offer a whole range of different cases. There are some modular options with interchangeable components, so you can change the color and the style of the buttons, the rims, the back cover. You can have so much fun with the customization. But don't forget the screen, this is just as important. So I've got one of their 3D impact screen protectors here, which is a combination of glass and plastic. It's a polymeric material, so it actually looks and feels like glass, but it's incredibly durable. So now we're fully protected, let's put it to the test. 3, 2, 1. And look at that, not a scratch. So if you want to keep your phone and devices safe, then head on over to Rhino Shield, and I've put a link in the description below. But during November and their Black Friday sales, you can get up to 60% off across their range, and if you use my promo code TheTechChap, you can get an extra 10% off. Not too shabby. So click the link below and get started with Rhino Shield. And we have our first casualty. It is the Honor Magic 4 Pro at 8 hours 48. A good innings, but some way behind the rest of the pack. And actually, it's a good hour and a half until the next phone, the Pixel 7 Pro, kicks the bucket at 10 hours 19. And actually, pretty much within the same minute as the Galaxy S22 Ultra. I did not expect the Pixel 7 Pro and the S22 Ultra to have basically the same battery life. That is a big win for the Pixel, I think, considering how far behind they were in the past. And we see the Oppo Find X5 Pro running out of battery, so pretty close to the S22. But considering what the rest of the pack are on, I think they're going to start dropping like flies pretty quickly now. And so just past the 10.5-hour mark, the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and that is a little bit disappointing. I thought that would do better. Obviously, we know it doesn't quite hit last year's 13 Pro Max's battery, but still very, very good. And then it's the Vivo, the X80 Pro at 10 hours 55. But then just a few seconds later, the OnePlus 10T drops out. So that's basically a draw, although technically the OnePlus lasted a tiny bit longer. Very, very close. And then quickly followed by the Xiaomi 12T Pro, which puts it in third place. And then we have just two left. Is it going to be the iPhone 14 Plus or the ROG Phone 6? Oh, it's going to be close. But look at that, there we go. The iPhone 14 Plus is out, leaving the ROG Phone 6 on 1% and making it the winner, which is pretty crazy. And also perhaps not surprising given it has by far the biggest battery. So in last place, the Honor Magic 4 Pro. A little bit disappointing, but then it does have a smaller battery and it uses the slightly older Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. Then the Pixel, second to last, but I still think this should get the award for most improved battery life, especially coming from the Pixel 6 Pro last year. But then again, considering the Tensor chip is the slowest in terms of raw graphical performance, maybe it's not that impressive. I don't know, I still love the Pixel. I think it's done really well to keep up with the rest of the pack. Then we have the S22. New models are expected soon, likely with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, so hopefully that'll make a big difference because this is coming to the end of its life. Well, in terms of being a flagship latest smartphone. Then we have the Oppo Find X5 Pro, which I think is a bit of an underrated phone. I know not everyone loves the design of this, but it did pretty well in this test, and also would do a refresh in the next couple of months. I had expected the iPhone 14 Pro Max to maybe be in the top 2 phones, maybe top 3, but not quite. Still very, very impressive performance, but just not quite up to what the 14 Plus can do, or even its older brother, the 13 Pro Max from last year. I'm genuinely amazed at how well the Vivo did, considering it has one of the smaller batteries, 4700 milliamps, also not the newer Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip, which also makes a big difference. But then considering the OnePlus 10T also died within the same minute at 10 hours 55, it's pretty much a draw between the Vivo and the 10T. Not everyone loves the 10T, and in many ways the 10 Pro is a better option, but we get the newer processor, the 8 Plus Gen 1, and I think that also goes a long way to make the battery better as well. And then in third place, the Xiaomi 12T Pro. This has done really, really well. The 8 Plus Gen 1 obviously helps. We've got a big 5,000 mAh battery, and I'm also excited to see what they do with the new 13 series, which isn't that far away. This is like the mid-year refresh. But yeah, if you want a good battery life and you want a Xiaomi, then go for the 12T Pro. But then coming second by just 1 percentage point, the iPhone 14 Plus. We expected this to do well. I mean, it's using last year's A15 chip, which is still very powerful, but slightly older, and also it's limited to the 60 Hz refresh rate, which may have given it an advantage, or it actually may have been a disadvantage. I don't know, because of the LTPO dynamic refresh of the other phones. Either way, as Apple claim this is the longest lasting iPhone, I think they're right. which means the ROG Phone 6 with its whopping great 6,000 mAh battery wins this battery test. Perhaps not massively surprising. So my takeaway is they're all pretty great actually, you can't go wrong with any of them. I am excited to see what we get with the new Samsung, new Oppo and new Vivos very soon as well, and I am pleased to see the Pixel keeping up with the rest, even if it did come second to last. As always, there are loads more phones I'd love to have included, and if you let me know in the comments below which one you'd like me to add for my next battery test in a few months, because I need a break after making this video, do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.